I had a video I was working on for today, but I simply couldn't find the words. I sat there for hours trying to make it say something meaningful, but nothing really landed, so I decided to put it aside and write this one instead. Maybe that in itself says something, that sometimes the words we want to say aren't the ones we're meant to say yet. Sometimes we have to let go of the thing that we were forcing so that we can speak honestly about what's really happening. And what's happening right now is that we're in the middle of closing the venue that my bar and restaurant has occupied for the past 10 years, and we're moving to a new location. A new chapter, a new building, a new energy, and still it feels strange to even say it out loud. Because even when you know something is right, that doesn't mean it's easy. Last night we had our final night of service in the space, 10 years of life within those walls, and it all came to a close with one more round of laughter, a few tears, and that quiet ache that you feel when an era ends. So this video isn't about the logistics of moving, it's about everything that comes with it. The mixed feelings of loss, excitement, pride, fear, gratitude, and sadness that somehow all fit inside a single moment. It's about how it's possible to hold grief and hope at the same time, and how the strength to make the hard choices, the ones that challenge your ego and test your courage, is what separates mere survival from genuine growth. We knew it was time to move months ago. Well, if I'm honest, I probably knew years ago, but pride and ego kept me anchored. The desire to prove something to myself and to others, maybe even to the story that I'd been telling, kept me pushing forward when deep down I knew change was overdue. I wanted to make it work. I wanted to fix every problem that wasn't really the problem. I convinced myself that if I just tried harder, tweak this, change that, it would all fall back into place. But the truth was sitting right there in front of me, too big and too heavy to look at. The real issue wasn't something that could be fixed within those four walls. The real issue was that the space itself had reached its limit. It had carried us as far as it could, and the idea of moving felt impossible, almost offensive. How could I leave a place that has been a part of me for so long? It wasn't just a business premises, it was a living scrapbook of our journey. The laughter, the late nights, the mistakes, the wins, and the friendships. For years I told myself that if we ever left, the brand would lose its soul, that the memories and the meaning would somehow disappear with the building. But when the decision was finally made, when I allowed myself to say it out loud, something shifted. A weight I didn't even realize I'd been carrying just lifted. The relief was almost physical. The truth was simple. The brand had outgrown the walls. The love and the energy that made Oko Rocco what it is aren't trapped in bricks and mortar. They're carried by the people, the culture, and the purpose. It took me years to see that and minutes to feel it once I did. Like everyone else, I wrestled with things like ego, anxiety, overwhelm, and imposter syndrome. And if you followed my work, you already know that. I've talked about it openly, not because I've mastered it, but because it's something that we all keep meeting in different ways. What I've learned is that these feelings don't vanish. You just get better at recognizing them and deciding who gets the steering wheel. Imposter syndrome shows up whenever we step beyond what's familiar. And why wouldn't it? It's proof that we're doing something new. You can't grow without that faint voice in your head saying, I don't know if I can do this. That voice isn't a problem, it's a compass pointing to the edge of your comfort zone, the exact place that growth lives. Ego though, that one's a little bit trickier. And I don't mean the vanity or arrogance, I mean the quiet part of us that hates being seen as weak, the part that wants to protect an image of competence even when that image is cracking. For me, closing the old venue triggered that completely. I was terrified that people would see it as a failure, that they'd look at the decision and think that I just couldn't make it work anymore, that I'd be judged for walking away from something that I fought so hard to build. But the more I sat with that fear, the clearer it became that the only voice calling this defeat was my ego. The people who actually cared, our team, our guests, our community, they weren't judging, they were proud, they understood, they saw it for what it was, a necessary evolution. Ego disguises itself as strength, but it's really just fear dressed in armor. And the longer you listen to it, the heavier it gets. Letting go of that armor, admitting that change was needed, was one of the hardest things I've done. But the moment I did, I realized strength isn't about holding on, it's about knowing when to release. Right now, we're somewhere in between the ending and the beginning. We've said goodbye to the one place and we're rebuilding another. The downstairs is completely stripped, the walls are bare, and we've started painting the new place, putting our fingerprints on fresh plaster and shaping something that already feels alive. We open in 2 weeks, there's a mountain of work ahead, but also the excitement that's hard to describe. It already feels right, lighter, sharper, more us. Our final night in the old venue was overwhelming. The outpouring of love from the community, the messages, the hugs, the memories, it reminded me what this journey has always been about. It's never just been about food or drink or design, it's been about connection, and connection moves with you. That's why I share all of this, partly because these videos are how I process things myself, and partly because I know there are people listening who are standing in their own version of this moment. Maybe you're facing a change that you didn't plan for, or an ending that you didn't want to accept. Maybe you're scared that walking away means failure. I know that feeling, but I've learned something from being here, right at that crossover point, and I want to pass it on. Life can sometimes feel like one long string of failures. So many, in fact, that sitting down and giving up starts to sound like relief. We tell ourselves we're just taking a break, but deep down we know it's surrender. It happens when pressure gets too high, when fear whispers that moving forward will only make things worse. But here's what I've learned. The moment when life feels hardest is often the moment right before it gets better. It's not poetic, it's pattern. The last stretch before the breakthrough is when most people stop. The discomfort is proof that something is shifting. Every failure, every setback, every sleepless night where you question everything, those aren't punishments, they're lessons building muscles that you didn't even know you need. Each challenge shapes you into someone stronger, more grounded, more capable of carrying the success that's coming next. Quitting doesn't remove the pain, it just removes the purpose. And if quitting guarantees failure, then why be more afraid of failing by moving forward? I remind myself of that constantly because yes, this move is exciting, but it's also risky. There's no guarantee, there never is, but standing still has its own risk, and that one was certain. I've had my share of tough seasons, COVID being one of the hardest. There were moments back then when everything felt uncertain and I caught myself looking for someone to blame. The economy, the government, fate. It was just easier to imagine the universe was against me than to admit that it was just life unfolding. But over time, I came to understand something that's changed the way that I see everything. The universe isn't for or against you, it's responding to you. It doesn't hand out fairness or unfairness. It gives you the conditions required for the next version of yourself. If you say you want patience, you'll get waiting. If you want strength, you'll get struggle. If you want courage, you'll get fear to face. It sounds harsh, but it's strangely comforting once you see it clearly, because that means life isn't punishing you, it's preparing you. Look at anyone who's built anything lasting, and you'll find the same thread. Behind every success is a season of darkness, a point where it nearly broke them. And if you look closely, that darkness was never wasted. It made them exactly who they needed to be to carry what came next. So no, the universe doesn't care about you in the way that your ego imagines. It doesn't plot against you, it listens to what you ask for, and it gives you the materials you need to build it yourself. Sometimes those materials look like challenges, sometimes they look like endings, sometimes they look like silence, but they're all a part of the same conversation. The strange thing about perspective is that it only fully forms in hindsight. You rarely see a meaning of a moment while you're inside of it. You see it later when the dust settles, when the lesson reveals itself, when the pattern becomes visible. I think about that a lot now. All the nights I went home exhausted and worried, all the things I thought were falling apart, they were just shaping me quietly. Every mistake I made as a leader, every problem I tried to fix the wrong way, every time I felt stuck, those moments taught me how to move through this one with more grace. And that's what I want to offer as a reminder to you guys. Whatever you're in the middle of right now, you won't understand all of it yet, but one day you'll look back and you'll see the path clearly. You'll see how every detour and delay built something in you. The patience, the resilience, the humility, they're forged here, not after. So here's what I've learned. Not as advice shouted from the stage, but as a thought whispered from experience. The hardest decisions will almost always come wrapped in fear, doubt, and the illusion of failure. That's how you know that they're important. If the decision doesn't scare your ego a little, it's probably not growth. You can love something deeply and still know it's time to let it go. You can grieve an ending and still feel excited with what comes next. You can stand in the wreckage of one chapter and see the foundations of another forming right under your feet. Change doesn't ask for permission, it waits for honesty. And the moment you choose honesty over comfort, that's when everything begins to move again. So I started this video saying I couldn't find the words for what I'd planned to make. And now I see why, because what I really needed to say was this. Sometimes you have to put down the thing that you were forcing to make space for what's true. And that applies to creative work, to business, to love, to identity, to all of it. You can't move forward if you're still clutching the version of yourself that fit the last chapter. You have to loosen your grip, even when your hands shake. Closing our old venue felt for a long time like the end of something irreplaceable. But standing here now, 2 weeks from opening the next one, I can feel that it isn't the end at all. It's proof that the story is still alive. And maybe that's the point that's worth remembering. Growth doesn't always feel like victory. Sometimes it feels like loss, but loss when it's chosen from honesty is just room being made for what comes next. So if you're standing in your own doorway, holding your own set of keys, wondering whether it's failure to move on, It isn't. It's courage in disguise. When I locked the doors last night for the final time, I stood there in the quiet and I felt it all. The pride, the sadness, the gratitude, the release. And as I turned the key, I realized something that ties all of this together. You can love a place, a season, or a version of yourself fully and still know it's time to leave. Because sometimes the bravest thing that you can do from the dream that you built is to give it room to keep growing. And that's what I'm doing now. And that's what this whole season is teaching me. And maybe, just maybe, that's what you needed to hear too. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a like and a subscribe. It helps me, the channel, and it helps people like us find the content that really matters. And as always, you matter too. Don't forget that.